sure to cook. Today we're going to be doing meatball subs. We're going to do everything homemade. And I'm going to add a little Creole seasoning inside of there. I'm going to give this a great stir. Look at that, guys. I am good to go. I hear you. Yes. Oh my God, that is wonderful. So that was about 4 to 5. I'm back. Bye. Welcome back to another episode of Be Sure to Cook. Today we're making meatballs in a nice Italian sauce. So stay tuned and let's do this. Okay, as you can tell, you can see all the water still on here where I have rinsed these off very thoroughly. And I'm drying these with a paper towel. I don't really want any water inside my meat. Okay, so I'm going to be using green pepper, and I've got fresh garlic here that I've already rinsed off, and that is ready to go. But first of all, we're going to start cutting up our vegetables. Now, in a meatball, some people might not use vegetables, but I do. I use a red and a green bell pepper. Okay, I am drying the pepper off with a paper towel, making sure there's no moistness or water in it, and it's pretty much dry. Let me go ahead and wipe off and clean my knife. Okay, what I got today, guys, is I have a small food processor. I know I love chopping and doing all that because it relaxes me, but today, since I'm making these meatballs, I don't want to see a lot of the peppers in there. I want to see them, but I want them to be fine peppers. And I want it to be like specks of peppers, specks of red, specks of green inside my meatball. It just, wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to food process this really, really fine. Finer than I could cut the blade. I bet you I could cut the blade like that, guys. But I think it's quicker for me to do that and get that over with. So here it goes. Okay, before I've already diced up some onions. And I actually hand diced these this time because I want them to kind of be chunky. But you can still use your food processor if you want to. And this is my relish, is what I call, but it's still a little chunky, but it's fine, really fine, but still chunky. Okay, now I have the garlic. I want the garlic to be like thin. So what I'm going to do, instead of me thinly chopping it, I'm going to let the food processor chop it. I'm going to do a couple chops of this. Okay, I'm getting my square pan together. You can get any kind of baking dish that you want to bake your meatballs in. This is mine. It's got a little top, so when it starts to cool, I can always put a top on them. I can take this to anything. So anywhere or any kind of party or dish or anything, as long as you pick it up, because this is a nice little pan that has a top. I'm going to put a little spray on the bottom of this. And I'm going to let this go over here, and I'm going to let this pan sit. So let's make the meatballs. This is about a half pound of pork, ground pork, which we're going to be taking this ground pork and we're going to be smashing it up, getting it all together, because we're going to add some ground beef to this, and we're going to be smashing it up all together. Okay, so this is ground pork, but if you don't like pork or anything like that, you can just do regular hamburger, but I've got a little ground pork because this is going to be Italian style. So I'm going to smash this up, and I'm going to go get a fork after I did it because I just wanted this to be really good mashed. Okay, I've got some ground beef here that I'm going to add into my pork. And that's about a half pound of ground beef, a half of the same as my ground pork. And I'm just mixing these all together. And when I mix and I squeeze and I make sure these are all combined. The pork, the hamburger, because I want it to be equal parts mixed thoroughly. Okay, I got some oregano leaves that I'm going to go ahead and put a little oregano in there because they are Italian meatballs. And I've got some Italian seasoning, dry Italian seasoning, because we're making what? We're making meatballs. So we're just going to sprinkle, a little bit of that in there. Mrs. Dash always goes good in everything because that's got like a lot of different seasons in there. Okay, Italian breadcrumbs. So I don't really use a lot because I don't like fillers. So this is a tablespoon of breadcrumbs. That's all I need because I just don't like the fillers. And when you shake it around, it doesn't look like a lot, but believe me, it's a lot for me. I've got this Italian better bouillon. You can use this stuff. I only got 1 teaspoon of that's going in there. This has got some salt in here, so you don't need to add salt because you got salt already there. So that's going to be a little bit different and good. Okay, so now I've got my onions that I'm going to add, and then I have that mix. Remember that dry mix with all the vegetables in there? Then I got some of this wonderful chopped garlic. So as you know, I'm just going to use all this garlic. I like garlic in my meatballs. I am wanting to be Italian, man. So I just put that in there. Okay, let me wash up my hands. I got one more thing to add, and we're going to get to mixing. Okay, so here it is, guys. What everybody's been waiting for, what I be waiting for. I got Parmesan cheese. Some of it's kind of in lumps here. So you're just going to sprinkle that all in there. And I'm going to be using maybe 1/2 of a cup. So not quite a whole cup, but a half of a cup of Parmesan cheese. And then there we got everything in here. You got to get your hands in there and you got to make sure everything is going to be mixed up and mixed around because you want all this to be in here. And a lot of people, some people say, oh, you need egg because that egg there is going to give you what you're looking for, that binder. But actually, with the little breadcrumbs, that's why I put the breadcrumbs in there because breadcrumbs is also a binder. It's a thickener that you could use just a little bit to make that a little thicker. It's like a filler. So you don't need egg and breadcrumbs because when you make bread, don't you put eggs in it? Some people overdo it with the eggs. For me, I don't need it, and they're going to come out just fine. What you need is to make sure that all those seasonings get locked in there. All right, I'm making the meatballs, and I like big meatballs. I got my little pan here, and I'm gonna do each size about the same. And these are gonna go in the oven, and they're gonna bake like a meatball. And these are gonna be in a sauce that we're gonna prepare right after I get through rolling the meatballs. When I roll meatballs or make, uh, like anything that has something to do with me rolling the meat, it reminds me when I was a little girl and I used to get that mud and I used to cook pretend like I was in the kitchen cooking. I'm going to make some pretty decent sized meatballs. All righty. And this is some big meatballs. Here I am talking Italian, but I'm not Italian. But this is some big meatballs, and I put them, snug them together because when they all shrank and with whatever oil that I'm going to get off these, I can drain these and keep these cooking. These are going to cook until they're so medium because we're going to put these in sauce and let them finish cooking in the sauce. So let's pop these in a 350-degree oven for about 35-45 minutes, and let's make our sauce in the middle. Okay, I've got some diced tomatoes. It's got basil, garlic, and oregano in there. And I love this because this is some good stuff here. Uh, it's everything that you need. I like my tomato a sauce to be, a little chunky with regular tomatoes in there. So what I do is I take a can and I like drain these. Those are really, really chunky. But we're gonna smash these down a little bit and make it where it's great tomatoes. I've got some Cento tomato sauce, and it's Italian tomato sauce. So we're gonna use some of that. All right, I'm gonna use all of this. And those sweet tomatoes that we got into that jar, I turned around and I crushed those up. I want those to be crushed. And with all them seasonings, I said them, all that seasoning that is in these tomatoes are going to be wonderful. Okay, after I add that up, and as you can see the sauce, see I pour that in there, I'm going to add a little garlic. That's about just a dash of garlic. And I've got smoked paprika, a dash of that. Give it a little kick. A little bit of my famous Mrs. Dash, just a dash of that. I got a little basil here, guys. 1/4 teaspoon of basil, 1/4 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. We got to be careful with that. That's why we're using 1/4 teaspoon. And it's like, I know I can measure that out and it comes out perfect on the spoon. I mean, I've cooked so long, I can actually measure it out. And then we also have that oregano, and that's also 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then we're going to just stir all these seasonings up in here. And we're going to put this on a stove and let this cook slowly. And then we got a teaspoon of sugar just to take that bitterness out of that sauce, because I hate that bitterness. So since we just going to cook this, and give it really great flavor. Oh, that went all over the cameraman. Sorry. Okay, these are still hot and they're halfway through. And I just want to start cooking these with sauce. And I want to get rid of all this oil, whatever oil that you have in the juice. I don't want that. So I put these on a microwave plate and I'm getting ready to discard the juice in here. And I'm going to fill this up with the sauce that we made. Okay, I have been cooking our sauce. Okay, in that glass pan, I'm going to put some of our homemade sauce that we have made down into. I'm going to place our meatballs back into the pan and some of the original juice back in there because that's juice now. You can tell oil from juice because it's set. Okay, so now I'm going to get the rest of our sauce. It's cooking away over here. It can finish in the oven. And I am going to pour. That's why I love this pan my husband brought, because you can just pour. It's got a little pour thing where you can pour it over the rest of this sauce into my meatballs. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay, these are medium meatballs. They're not quite done. I'm going to go ahead and fully cook the rest of them, and I'm going to cook them into the sauce. Put them back in the oven. All right, guys, our meatballs are done, but our sauce is, wonderful. It's not very thick. I don't happen to like thick because I want my sauce to be kind of runny. But if you still want this to be a little thick, just cook your sauce down until it starts getting thicker. Let's take some of these meatballs out. Look at that. Oh, that's a good juicy meatball. We're going to plate these meatballs up. Look at that. Oh, we're going to clean up the spills that these wonderful meatballs are leaving. It is. This is a meatball, guys. This is meatball heaven. That's just the way I want them. meatball heaven. All right. And then I want these meatballs to be in some sauce here. Nobody wants a dry meatball. No, I don't. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Mm, mm, mm. Delicious sauce. Oh, this sauce is so delicious, guys. Once you make it for your family, they're going to love it. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That's a wonderful, wonderful meatballs. A little parsley on here, guys. And now everybody loves Parmesan cheese. And here it is, meatballs with Italian sauce. This is good. This is the gravy that I put on here, and this is Be Sure to Cook's meatballs. Guess what? I didn't do this alone. We did this together, you and me. We did this. Hey, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Come back next time so we can make plenty more dishes. See you next time. Bye.